Animation is one of the most flexible forms within the genre of cinema. It can do practically anything. Animation is a powerful art form that speaks directly to the formative souls of children. Me, you, River, Second River, Third River, we all learned a lot, but didn't necessarily realize what we learned when we learned it. It has the power to make kids understand adults better, and it has the power to make adults feel like they did when they were a kid. Oftentimes, it is designed for that. It's transformative because the best of it really seems to convey wildly different ideas to different people. EX period. The Sword in the Stone is a fun adventure film with silly animal fights and literally no stakes whatsoever. But to a different kid, there's also a bad situation where neither adult has a child's, the protagonist's, physical well-being at heart. Sorry, Merlin, the main character in a film ostensibly a proxy for you, the child, is abandoned, forgotten, shunned, patronized, and abused. Cinderella, Aladdin, Jungle Book, Oliver and Company, Bambi, Disney has kind of a hold on this whole orphan market. I mean, they did for a while. Also, I guess All Dogs Go to Heaven counts. But when you're 5, you might learn a lesson that sticks with you literally forever in your behavior. Entertainment that early can change your operational mind. Winnie the Pooh taught me what depression was before I had any idea what that word meant when I was like 4. I just knew what it felt like to be having a real Eeyore kind of day because I struggled as a kid to make friends and I had super bad ADHD. A struggling, depressed child with a hyperactive disorder can be a scene. I don't regret any of it. I'm just saying kids can extract extremely complex concepts and ideas from things that seem like a bunch of drawings played in succession to form a story too imaginative for the existing moving image. Animation can soar. This is a personal episode if that wasn't already readily apparent. Also a pretty different format than usual, though spoiler alert, the format is the reveal at the end, so we have that to look forward to. Looking back, it's kind of incredible to think about the things you knew because of entertainment, and as an adult, you can realize what those things taught you because it probably wasn't what you thought it was. Can all be cool, world? The Sword in the Stone is released. Critics are pretty mixed on it, loving the craft, but being utterly bewildered by a tale about how King Arthur becoming King Arthur somehow contained no actual tale about how King Arthur became King Arthur. Cut 2. I'm 6 and I wore this VHS out. It was one of those puffy Disney ones too. I was donkey sauce for this movie, and The Sword in the Stone is a strange film, not least of which because it's ostensibly about neither swords nor stones. Like I said before, it doesn't really have any stakes. No one really learns a lesson because the last thing Arthur wants is to be king and actively tries to run away from that which is forced upon him. His agency is neglected as much at the beginning as it is at the end. Oh, and he has a non-standard agency ignoring involuntary co-parenting situation where both sides do not approve of the other's parenting and generally weaponize the child against the other solely to Arthur's detriment. Bazinga! Okay, so like Arthur just meets an old man in the woods and the dude is all, I'm your father now, I know what's best for you. Arthur is already an indentured servant to his existing parent and now is an expendable pawn to his new parent. Cool. I mean, I obviously didn't understand that when I was 6 or whatever. Mostly, I just really loved knights, sword fights, and Ren Fair because it was the only place I could really engorge myself on a turkey leg like a second grade bouse. But I understood and empathized with the fact that Merlin was consistently endangering Arthur and costing him European squire trips and other stuff that Arthur had earned. Arthur, or more succinctly for most of the movie's runtime, Wart, accomplished small goals he cared about with unreasonable prerequisites to attain them. It did occur to me, even that young, that Sir Ector was bad, but theoretically, Merlin was worse.
Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone and anvil is rightwise king born of all England.
In at the end, suddenly, stakes! Arthur forgot Kay's sword and he's like, oh no, I gotta find a sword. Wait, well, there's one in the anvil over there. Arthur, the Accidental King, Thursdays on NBC, starring Steven Weber. As an adult, you realize how few women characters there are in this movie. There's a scullery maid. There's a couple of squirrels with consent issues, and a witch named Madam Mim. This isn't suggesting anything, I'm just asking us to think about what this taught you, a film that presupposes and builds the entire plot around the presupposition that men lead and women follow. And if you don't, you're a witch, or a squirrel with consent issues. Look, I bugged my sister a lot when I was a kid to watch this movie with me, and it wasn't her jam. And honestly, she never really wanted to watch it, and as an adult, I can understand why. And maybe that was because the character most relatable to a little girl was a squirrel who gets her heart destroyed to teach Wart something, which is the only sympathetic thing in the film when you really think about it. Little girl squirrel, yes, she wasn't credited with the name either, has her heart broken by Squirrel Arthur, and this is not resolved. I mean, Arthur tries, he has empathy for other people, unlike the rest of the characters in this entire film, but they just break her heart and jog the f*** on. I wouldn't hold breaking a squirrel's heart in a movie against a lot of filmmakers, but Disney kind of built an empire on feeling intense emotions for anthropomorphic mammals and insects. When I say that never resolved, I mean that the audience, if you're a 6-year-old boy that would love a little squirrel friend, it doesn't resolve ever. I'm 36. I've thought about that damn squirrel practically every day for 30 years. For all I know, LGS is somewhere out there still in that tree, wishing for a life that could never be. And I'm not trying to dunk on it, though I clearly just did. But I am going to analyze specifically what lessons these films taught me personally without my nostalgia glasses on. I adored this film when I was a kid. In a lot of ways, I still adore this film. But films, especially animated ones, take on a lot of unintended meaning when you're a child. I want to be honest about the things I personally took from these films, especially the ones I watched a lot. And on that super positive note, I still super enjoy the wizard's duel at the end. Mim and Merlin continue to polymorph into different animals in this great back and forth, where creativity and quick-wittedness were the appreciable factors. At least until Mim cheats and turns into a dragon, which was explicitly against the rules. So Merlin is like, oh, cheating's cool? Okay, I'm a disease, bye! Also, we're going to jump around a lot in this piece. There's a lot to say about a lot of things. Let's look at something that shaped me positively. Obviously, I wasn't 6 years old when I saw this for the first time. I was 20. But it opened my eyes to a lot in film. It was this expansive, super fantastical world all contained within the walls of a bathhouse for wayward spirits just looking to unwind and relax. And it was all seen through the eyes of a 10-year-old. It was the first Miyazaki movie I'd ever seen. Yeah, I was a late bloomer. I'm glad it was the first one because I looked at all of his other films with a cleaner lens. It seems to go to all this trouble to create these little moments, like the way Chihiro walks upstairs or taps her shoe on mid-stride as she throws them on in a hurry. Everything is animated at a remarkable level. All of these little touches and flourishes make these characters, Spirits, Human, Nostril Girls, and the Frog Boys, that was my band in college, by the way, feel remarkably believable, like real relatable people. It has such a charming center. Chihiro is a kid, she's afraid of a lot of stuff, but without the safety net of her parents around to protect her, she must become self-reliant and responsible, like being 20 years old. She never loses her compassion even for wounded spirits that chow down at Uncle Terrell's all-you-can-eat radish spirits and frog boy buffet / karaoke bathhouse. Yeah, I went with Oh, Terrell as a name in that joke? There was something intoxicating to me about celebrating the mundanity of life by contrasting it with this bonkers, fantastical reality. The bathhouse has a system of tokens for what the patrons pay for. There's a system in place running a business, even if that business is servicing forest spirits and such. It makes sense. The film delights in the trivial in the face of the fantastical. Hell, it bathes in it. And it never really stops being weird or apologizes for it. This was absolutely the film that taught me the lesson of looking deeper at film. I walked out of the theater confused because I really didn't know anything about this Miyazaki fella. Instead of just deciding that it was weird, I thought, why is it weird? What is it saying? And the more I dug, the more rewarded I felt. Chihiro begins the movie as a child, and she ends the film as a self-reliant contributing member of a society, arguably the person that changed and fixed said society, even if that society was not her own. Hey, is this why I like Whale Rider so much? Spirited Away woke me up as a movie person. I don't know what I do either. Spirited Away taught me how to appreciate the layers in a film, because I haven't even talked about the fact that the movie is unspeakably beautiful as a piece of moving art, and it is effortless. We grow up, we gotta get on that train, but it's hard and everything is working against you, but you gotta get on that train. But it's okay, because once you're grown up, you realize that there are still adults who articulate an art form as an irreplaceable, highly contributing member of that art form. Miyazaki, who somehow even still possessed the wonder and delight of a child. So you can just feel that again whenever you want. It's reassuring to adults. This movie taught me what that was and what that looked like. You can't be a genius storyteller, you also have to be a meticulous artist. Hayao Miyazaki is who the term unrivaled was invented for. This got too happy, let's do a downer. 1941, Dumbo is released while the world is dealing with a lot. America was about to enter the war. America just got out of a 10-year depression, so people were looking to smile. I get it. It doesn't excuse this film. I'm going to walk us through all 63 minutes of it. Boom! 1985. At this point, I exist as a tiny, highly opinionated version of myself. I guess that's not super different than right now, but I'm 3 in this bit. Okay, straight up, this movie's on f***ing drugs. It starts with this barbershop quartet nightmare of narrators about Mr. Stork or whatever the hell. Really, it's about the men storks delivering animals to the zoo adults.
Is it possible?
Just look at those EARS.
Aren't they funny?
Walt, my boy, where are you going with this? So there's a stork narrator in addition to the exposition quartet, so children will never understand the concepts of narrative constructions because you took a room temperature dump on all of them.
Work all day, we work all night, we never learn to read or write. We're having hearted house to house.
But animals definitely don't ever have the sex, so birds deliver babies to expectant elephants. So say hello to Jumbo. Yes, that's his real name. No one ever uses it. Or at least it's Jumbo until the movie teaches us the finer aspects of bullying. There's a lot of the steam engine stuff in this movie. It's a sentient steam engine. I really can't spend any time on this, can I? There's a lot of it though. This film is like propaganda for nothing. Like everyone is all one voice with the supreme leader from right at the start. And then 4 seconds later it's at 50 quintillion when you need it at like a 4. But let's bully the baby elephants more in this strange utopia that values the art of dunking on people. So anyway, everyone in this society is a bully and a moron, violently so. This movie is disturbingly violent against animals. Dumbo's mom is confined to an inhumane by any standard space, and a baby elephant is orphaned, and then the lady elephants start dunking on Dumbo's mom, who is just defending her child. Can I take a break? This is a lot. Okay, Dumbo is depressed because elephants are dickweeds and dunk on babies. Then they shun a baby.
Freak.
Yes, him with those ears that...
What would you do if I sang out of tune?
I'll be back with some bad stuff in a second. Like, there's this whole bit where a mouse pretends to be a ghost while inceptioning the ringmaster into having the Dumbo idea while dreaming about it. The corrupt ringmaster makes the elephants do super dangerous stunts for capitalism, and all the elephants are super mean to each other for weight reasons because, let me just confirm. Oh, it only took 8 men to write this. Okay. Elephants be shopping though. Anyway, there's a catastrophic circus accident. Play it for laughs, Walt! And probably a bunch of people die. Anyway, everyone is super injured and they hate Dumbo now, the baby. And the elephants form a pact that Dumbo isn't recognized as an elephant anymore.
From now on, he is no longer an elephant.
Because they rejoice in removing the identities of, children. Anyway, he's a clown now, this 1-year-old elephant, and the people rejoice in the suffering of a baby animal, and really it's just this sort of beautifully animated tome of misery. So Dumbo becomes hella depressed about all this, and he is ignored by his peers some more. He gets to see his inhumanely incarcerated mother again, and we are reminded of her unbelievable accommodations and her inability to see her child that we are made intensely aware of that she definitely cares about immensely. But no, it decides this is sweet for some reason. No! It literally cuts to a scene of uproarious laughter after showing us all this inhumanity. When Dumbo is at his lowest point, the abusive rat starts a baby elephant on alcohol because nothing means anything and existence is meaningless. Again, the baby starts hallucinating. The good drugs kick in and nothing, legitimately at a loss for words on how long this goes on for. Trust me, it's a lot in a very short movie. It is pretty. That's a good... Oh, Jesus Christ! No, Walt! Bud! No! Anyway, the rat mouse realizes that Dumbo can fly, so he's gonna manipulate this baby more. In one of the best scenes, the mouse points out literally everything messed up about this movie in a single monologue.
This has gone far enough! You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. A bunch of big guys like you, picking on a poor little orphan like him. Suppose you was torn away from your mother when you was just a baby. How would you like to be left out alone in a cold, cruel, heartless world? Why? I ask you, why? Just because he's got those big ears, they call him a freak. Then when his mother tried to protect him, they threw her into the clink. Go ahead, have your fun, laugh at him. Kick him now that he's down.
So this movie is cruel, and it's racist, and it's sexist, and it is a product of its time. And I think that's all we can learn from it. It's a product of its time. Kids don't get that. Grave of the Fireflies, another Studio Ghibli film, was released, written and directed by Isao Takahata, one of Hayao Miyazaki's founding partners of Studio Ghibli. But let's go back for a second. When Takahata was only 9, he survived the U.S. fire bombings of Okayama, a type of raid that attacked multiple cities during the latter stages of World War II, including Kobe, where our story is set. It's important to note that the person directing every aspect of this film actually went through it. Americans dropping fire on civilian structures they knew to be made predominantly of wood. The firebombing of Tokyo, for example, claimed the lives of 88,000 people and made 1 million more homeless, civilians, not military. So, I saw this movie when I was 31. There's going to be a lot of ambiguity in the portrayal of right and wrong in this movie because the person that made it lived that ambiguity. What I'm about to say is a spoiler warning only as a formality, because if surprise is what you're looking for in this movie, you're going to be whatever the opposite of delighted is. Last chance? Okay. This is a movie about watching a 3-year-old die for shitty reasons, slowly. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, damn, no way I'm watching that now, you need to. We all need to see this lest we repeat it. Statistics on a page are just numbers. This is only 2 people, but it gives a face immediately to those statistics. In the face of all of that, it never loses hope for even 1 second. Somehow it manages to be magnetically inspirational and disarmingly charming. They should show this in schools. Giving a face to an atrocity is important. And this isn't an anti-war message, this is a pro-knowledge message. 3.2 million Japanese people died in World War II. And this is an artist's rendering, so to speak, of one of them. The author of the short story, Akiyuki Nisaka, lost 2 sisters and a father, both during and in the aftermath of the Kobe fire bombings. I cannot think of a finer use of an art form than to show us a new perspective in such an astoundingly beautiful way. 2 main creative forces behind the short story and the film both lived through this. Movies composed of this much light and value do not come around often. Animation can do anything. It can teach us anything, even the really subtle lessons where right and wrong are ideas that exist perpetually on the horizon. You owe it to Earth to watch this film. I think by now some of us are realizing that this episode wasn't what you expected it to be. This was only what 4 movies taught me. So here's the deal. This won't be my last Lessons Animation Taught Us episode. I very much want to make these for far into the future, and I have a lot of things still to talk about. Oliver and Company, A Goofy Movie, The Great Mouse Detective, Howl's Moving Castle. Animation is literally just too big and too expansive. I think it's important we look at the media we consumed as younger people, as adults, to properly gauge what we should be carrying forward with us and what we should never show to children again. You might also be thinking, wasn't this episode called Lessons Animation Taught Us and not Lessons Animation Taught Mikey Newman? Correct. Speaking just to other YouTubers for a second, I think you should also make videos called Lessons Animation Taught Us. Use whatever or as little as you want. I want everyone to make videos in this series. Hell, tweet them at me, at MikeyFace, and I'll do my best to keep sharing new videos. Soon playlists will form. People will start searching YouTube for Lessons Animation Taught Us. It can be a thing, and I have no idea if this is going to work, but hopefully it'll start growing and be its own thing. If you want to help, just start thinking critically about what you learned from one of the greatest art forms in the world. Whether film, Saturday morning cartoon, anime, or hell, a Dunkaroos commercial. I want to know what animation taught all of us. Well, here we are again with David McIntyre on top. As always, I don't know why, but congratulations, David and Matt Hessinger and Zach Marsh and John. Good on you, John. So, I thought it would be fun to do this whole big experiment coming out of this episode. Because early on when I sat down to talk about what animation taught us, lots of new names: Sarah Meaden, Sarah Grossaint, Jed Quince, Peter Falius, Mike Purnett, sorry, I'll get back to what I was talking about. So, like, the idea is, let's make something huge. Let's make something that covers every movie everybody would want. Like, I had people coming out to me on Twitter and saying, I sure hope you're going to talk about Last Airbender. And I'm like, I sure wish I'd seen the cartoon. Oh, man, the angry comments are happening now. I'll hide behind Glenn White and Sandy Lester and Little V and Kip Sistrill and Mark Luksh and Sam G and Tapur Jones. It's probably not how you say it. Yeah, I want a bunch of YouTubers to jump in on this with me. I originally sort of had this idea to do it like challenge style, where I'm like, yo, 40 butts YouTube channel. I don't know what a fake YouTube channel sounds like. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I find it weird when people do the challenge thing, so I didn't do that. I just thought I'd say, hey, jump in on this if you want to. Because Tom Lynch will be really happy, and Pat Rothfuss, and Thomas McCoy, and Victoria Studley, and John McGarity Ford, and Chevrolet. I don't know why I always think, whenever I see McGarity, it's like, yeah, that's a car dealership. If there isn't a car dealership owner in your family, I'll be very sad. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel. We're doing great. 2018 is the year that's crushing it. Let's go even further. I want to take over YouTube, which I won't do. Please follow me on Twitter at MikeyFace. Check out the Patreon. We're doing great, and I want to do more greater, like Henry Kropf and Terry Mesnard and Walter Craigie and Kelly Naylor, Richard Scott, Adam Thomas, Trey Warren, Ray Johnson, Patrick Mahoney, Brad Hunziker, Walrus. Never gets old. It's been there literally since Patreon credits have been there. I never get tired of Walrus. Alex Lehman, Kevin Hochter, Garrett Lathy, Cyclops Boy, Stephen Morton, Jason M. Klug, Jacob Koziel Map, the Indomitable Map, and Tim Gordon. I'll see y'all next time. See you in 2 weeks. Holy crap, this was really hard to finish. Bye!